I've recorded. I already forgot how to speak. So as you may know, I am currently studying illustration in the Arts University of Bournemouth. And when I was applying for this university through UCAS, I didn't really know what to do with my portfolio, and I was kind of desperately looking for portfolio examples on the internet and on YouTube. So this is kind of I specifically made this for anyone who's trying to look at portfolio examples, but I mean, I guess if you're interested in my content, you feel free to watch along. I forgot to speak. Okay, basically, this portfolio is my Behance profile. Some universities I applied to required a different format, but my Behance profile has most of the examples and works I put in my other portfolios. So it's the one with the most content. I didn't use this exact Behance portfolio for all of my applications. If I remember correctly, I did use it for the university I currently go to. So yeah, I also applied for the illustration course specifically, and this is exclusively for the British system. I don't know anything about the American system. I'm just a confused European. I am so sorry. Okay, let's actually get started. So, this is as a quick overview. I've included stuff that I do on my own that isn't quote-unquote professional work, but I also wanted to show how diverse the stuff I can do is. And also, a lot of these were works I did in my art class, because I used to have an art teacher. That was a great sentence. I used to have an art teacher, and she helped me put this portfolio together, so yes, shout out to her. Anyways, let's start with the first. So, you can read the descriptions if you want. I'm not gonna address them. This is a project I did in my art class, and my art teacher gave me kind of the challenge to paint with tools that aren't meant to be painted with. So I did all of this using no paint brushes. I kind of folded cardboard and used miscellaneous things to spread paint around. So it was abstract-ish, texture focused, but it's still, I think I used a reference for this, the bottom one, and the top one was kind of a continuation inspired by the previous one. So yeah, this showcases how I know how to adapt to new materials and how I understand paint and texture. This is another thing I did in art class. It was a pastel study. I had to reference I think it was a sculpture, and I focused on lighting and how it casts on it. And I also did more chalk work, but this was more focused on texture and abstract again. I don't remember using a reference. And what I did with the bottom one specifically, and the fish, I took the middle one and the right one, which was a bunch of texture studies, and I turned those into digital brushes. And the drawing on the very left is actually digital, but I meant to make it look like it was done traditionally, so it demonstrates how I understand digital art programs and how I can combine traditional and digital. Next up is the self-portrait. This is a lot more of what I usually do. Actually, I remember I did this as not even work for my portfolio at first, and I included it just because I thought it was interesting. And other people made it pretty common to include self-portraits in their portfolios. And this one shows how much of a massive weeb I am. But yeah, it had words. Doesn't really have any deep meanings behind it. I just kind of drew myself, and I thought the art style would look cool and the outfit would look cool. Next up is, again, stuff that I did in my art class. These were both referenced from stuff I saw outside of my window. This was only the sky, and this was like my window and the building in front of where I lived. Both were focused on like colors and lighting, and these helped me realize how I actually really like gouache as a medium. And it showcases how I understand multiple mediums and how I can draw from reference. Next up is the book I published. I don't know why I said that so early. Book. Book. Next up is the book I published. Thanks to my family, but that's a whole other story. I'm just here to talk about it, why it's in my portfolio. So at some point in 2020, my sister's birthday was dangerously approaching, and I was also in the process of working on my portfolio for uni, so I just decided to combine the two, and I made an entire children's book for my sister and documented the whole process of creating it to put it in my portfolio, so I kind of planned it in advance. It was an experience. It was my first time book binding and making this big of a project from scratch on a tight deadline. I think I made the entire thing from start to finish in a week. So there are certain things that were kind of rushed. If I had to do this again, I would give myself more time. Anyways, I'm gonna scroll down to the bottom to show the sketches. This was to show how I spent time on the project before finishing it all up. How I like planned ahead. I used thumbnails, planning, and I designed characters. The main character kind of had different stages of design. The cat was fairly easy to do. I didn't know how to stylize it at first, but I knew it was going to be like a black blob of cat. And then I showed how I made like the pages, so the final product. I did it with watercolor. And this is the actual book, my handmade, hand-bound version on the left, and the finalized product on the right. That was my stepmom, who's a graphic designer, helped me do like a printable version that is actually available to purchase. Anyways, the original used to be in English and French because my sister speaks French, but she doesn't speak English, so I thought it would be like a fun learning experience. But yeah, that's it for the children's book. Next up is a Lucifer study. It was my most time-consuming and detailed digital painting ever. It was quite a journey. I don't really think I want to do realism anytime after this, but I'm really happy with the result. And yeah, I was trying to show how as much as I prefer doing stylized art styles, I do have a good understanding of human anatomy and painting as well. So this was the digital version, but I did more. The one with marker, this one, was a showcase of how it would kind of look in my own style. So I do draw a lot of my own illustrations with alcohol markers, and I kind of tried stylizing the proportions and the coloring how I normally do my own art. It didn't change that much since. This was like a year ago, I'd say, maybe 2. What is time anymore? Anyways, the last one was a very simplified version that I painted with gouache. I'm pretty sure it was suggested by my art teacher. It was my least favorite out of everything I did, but like it kind of was pushing the proportions and the stylization even more. Oh, never mind, I do have the original in here. Then, it's like I didn't insert it in editing. It's actually here. And there's also the very first sketchbook page draft that I made of this. I don't need to point it out, you guys can see where the sketchbook is. Okay, that's it for Lucifer. Next up is an ink painting. I wanted to showcase how I can do even more abstract and texture stuff. I've showed that same thing with other works before, so nothing new, but I did have quite a lot of fun working on these. Ink is a really nice medium, and like, in general, I'm rambling. Just look at the ink. Okay, we're done here. And this is my main OC, Reese! I included him as more of an example of what I do on my own time, how I can draw stylized characters, and how I'm interested in storytelling. Also, it's kind of nice to see, look back at how he used to look. I'm pretty sure this is 2 years old at this point. Yeah, this was in 2020. So, yeah, here's an image of how he looks now. Next up, I showcased a few sketchbook pages. These were to show how I work on my own time in my own, sketchbooks, and I'm pretty sure that it's fairly common for art schools to ask for sketchbook pages anyways. They do want to see proof of you doing research and, studies and unfinished work, basically. And here I wanted to show how I usually prefer to use, pens and colourful, non-erasable art supplies in my sketchbook. Yeah, I may actually do a sketchbook tour of the sketchbooks in here, because these were, quite old at this point. Not that old, but definitely sketchbooks that I left at home. I don't have them with me right now, but if I somehow get my hands on them, sketchbook tours are coming. And next up is a digital painting that I made multiple versions of in different colors. Here I wanted to show that I have an interest in concept art and that I'm pretty good with color. It's the one thing I'm confident in. In my artistic knowledge, I'm decent with colors. So, whenever you have a portfolio, try to include the things that you're good at. Wow, such obvious advice. I'm great at this. Next up is actually work I did for technically a client. This was to show how I've done commercial work before and how I'm good at adapting at specific demands from a client. Adapting to, not adapting at. Bit late, but at least I noticed I can't speak. These were the sketches and thumbnails and color tests I did during the whole process. It's nice to include multiple steps of any project you include in your portfolio. Next up is a few pages I did in Inktober. I did Inktober and completed it once in my lifetime in 2019. But it's a nice thing. Inktober is a pretty well-known thing, and it shows how if you want to stick to a certain project, a long-term one, you're capable of doing it. So if you've ever done Inktober, include it in your portfolio. It may seem unprofessional because it's an internet thing, but I'm pretty sure that if wow, I'm gonna start that sentence over. I'm pretty sure that art schools would see it as a rather positive thing, because in the grand scheme of things, internet event or not, it's quite impressive that you can finish an art challenge that lasts an entire month. So yeah, Inktober good. Include it in your portfolio. Oh yes, the handy page. I wanted to show how I'm interested in human anatomy and hands specifically. I still feel like to this day hands are a important part of my art style, and I do like studying them. So yeah, if you're proud of one specific thing that you keep coming back to and trying to perfect, like I do with hands, include it in your portfolio. Next up is a character sheet, and I designed this entire character only to put him in my portfolio. He's not part of any of my stories or OCs. And it was just to demonstrate my character design process, how in-depth I kind of go with my drafts and studies in shape language, different options for clothes and colors. And I mainly did this because I'm interested in character design specifically. Even now, after uni, I will try and maybe pursue a career related to character design. So yes, this is, again, obvious advice, but if you already have something that you're interested in that kind of is a specific branch of the thing that you're doing, then make sure to include proof that you are interested in specifics of the career or art branch. You know what I mean. Next up is an animated head turn. I don't really think it counts as a full hat tan, but yeah. I kind of included it to show how I was indeed applying for illustration, but I do dabble in other fields of art like animation, so whatever you're applying to, it's nice to include proof that you do other things as well. Like if you're a photography student, or like if you apply for photography, you can include sketches, or if you apply for animation, you can do like painting. So as much as it could seem irrelevant to what you're interested in, art schools are interested in students who are kind of versatile and already have an interest in different forms of art. And if we scroll down, oh yeah, there's also a sketchbook page of this OC. I forgot I had this in here, but yeah, I showed them how I also had a sketchbook page of him, and here are the individual frames of the animation. And finally, we have a very old still life that I did in an art class. To be honest, I didn't want to put this in. It's not my proudest work. It's kind of rushed, and when I made it, I didn't even know I would have to do a portfolio. I'm pretty sure it's the oldest work I have in here, but I mainly included it because my stepmom, who is a graphic designer, really encouraged me to put it in, and it does have interesting texture going on, and it does show that I did have like art related education prior to art school. So yeah, it's kind of to show how I do have background in art. Like, I've been doing this for a while. Anyways, that was my portfolio so far. Looking back at this, I'm really glad that I got into art school, because I already feel like my art has improved since. And yeah, I hope that if you came here to maybe get advice for a portfolio of your own, hopefully this helped even a tiny bit. And if you're just here to vibe, then I hope you vibed well. Anyways, thanks everyone. Bye!